2, 1.
Now let me hear you say it. Now tell 'em I'm unashamed. I'm unashamed. I'm unashamed. I'm unashamed.
Hello, my name is Robbie. On here, I am Templar Knight. Every person who believes in God but does not attend a church has a story why. But whenever 2 or more people gather in God's name, He is there. So this is church. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Romans 1:16. For I am unashamed of the gospel, because it is the power of God that brings salvation to everyone who believes. We are finishing up our series on lessons inspired by music by the 116 Click. So I've been trying to get in all those last hits, those great songs that I need to share their message. And this week was kind of a weird one, because Friday I had to go and work at a different location where I normally work. And I had to work around someone that I don't like. Like, not even a little bit. He used to work for us, and last time he worked for us, he and I butted heads so much I got him fired. He was gone for half a year and applied for work at our other location and is doing well there, out of my space. But I was just never really fond of this guy, and I had to be around him. And so I was just kind of ignoring him. He can have his space, I'll have mine. And someone started talking with me, and they brought up church. They brought up Pastor Robbie and all this stuff he's doing, the Bible study. They were talking about things I've done in my life, and he got involved in the conversation. And someone was kind of baffled because they know that we don't like each other. And he asked me, he's like, Robbie, is it cool if I talk with you about I got some questions. I was wondering if maybe I could have. And I was like, sure, why wouldn't you? It's like, I mean, I know you and I, we don't get along, but I was just curious if you're okay with it. I was like, yeah. Just because I don't like you doesn't mean that God doesn't still love you. And we kind of met a common grounds. He had some questions about some stories he'd heard, things that I'd said around work, and he was curious about it. And we talked for a good 10-15 minutes, which is about 16 minutes longer than I would have liked to speak with this guy. But just because I don't like him doesn't mean God doesn't love him. And in talking to him and answering his questions and seeing his curiosity, it changed my mind on him. It kind of bridged the gap we had. Because I wasn't construction worker Robbie at that moment. At that moment, I had to be Pastor Robbie. And it's much harder for me to hold a grudge. And so our relationship made a complete 180. It was a total turnaround. And I think I might be okay with the guy now. I don't know. I don't know where I stand with him, but we communicated. We had a positive interaction. And it got me thinking about how much I disliked him before. The things he had done, why I didn't like him in the first place, and how this one interaction changed that. So our relationship had a revolution. I found this song, Red Revolution, by the 116 Click, and I listened to it, and I was like, that's the song for this week. And so I started trying to come up with a good lesson to talk about. So first thing I do is research. I hit the dictionary because I know what a revolution is, but I wanted to know what revolution meant. So I was like, I'm going through the definitions, and the first one was the action of a celestial body going around in an orbit or an elliptical course. And I'm like, okay, something is circling around something else. That has potential. I could probably work with that. Then to the next definition. A progressive movement of a body around an axis so that any lines of the math, whatever, I don't care, moved on. And then the definition that caught me. A sudden, radical, or complete change. That one hit me. It also went on to say a fundamental change in a political organization, especially the overthrow or big word about a government or a ruler. I should have read this first, my bad. I didn't care too much about that definition. I was fascinated in the sudden, radical, or complete change. Because when I was thinking about revolutions, we've had a handful of them. We've had the technology revolution. We've had vehicle revolutions. We've had music revolutions. And I started thinking about, well, history for some dumb reason. I'm sorry, this might get boring, but talking about history, there was this thing that was called the American Revolution. And that one got me thinking because, okay, that was when our country declared its freedom. Instead of being a colony from England, we're going to be our own people. We took a major change. Where would America be had there not been the revolution? So I started looking, okay, what was the American Revolution about? Okay, well, they say in the history books there were 4 main causes. There was the British taxation, the Boston Massacre, the Boston Tea Party, and the Intolerable Acts. All of them kind of ring a bell in my head, but I'm not a historian. If you're curious what they were, go look it up in a book, because meh. But those were historical events that caused people to realize that they deserved better. They deserved freedom from their oppressors who ruled over them. And they were willing to fight for it. So they went to war to fight England. A revolution. A sudden, radical, and complete change to take control from England and give it to the Americans, so that this newly colonized land would be free and they would control their rule. That's what the American Revolution was about. Now, I took that paragraph, because I didn't write that. I'm not sure if you can tell, those words aren't mine. I took that paragraph and I changed it. See, here we are now. People who realize we deserve better. We deserve freedom from our sin and how it rules over us. My question is, are we willing to fight for it? If so, then go to war against evil. Start a revolution in your life, a sudden, radical, and complete change to take control from the devil and to give your life to the Lord, so that your life will be free from sin. I didn't have to change a lot in that paragraph. To make it go from the Americans opposing the English to make that about us opposing the devil and sin. If you ask me, it makes a lot of sense. The problem is that we don't know how. There's one thing I learned while reading about this is we are destructive people. Americans as a whole, when we're upset about something, when we're willing to fight for something, we get mad and we go break stuff. Now, I don't want to get political. I don't want to talk about current world events because honestly, none of them really matter. But whenever something gets people upset enough that they're willing to do something, that they're willing to try and spark a revolution, they get mad and they go break stuff. And not even the stuff that needs to be broken. But we just have this inner toddler inside of us all that when we're mad, we need to lash out to show everyone how upset we are. So we break things. We loot buildings. We break cars. We burn stuff. Every time we try and lead a revolution, it's built on destruction. And it never works. So I wonder, how do we really change things? Because my instinct is to fight. That's what I want to do. I want to go to war against sin, against the devil. I want something I can just go after. Because that's my nature. I'm destructive, as I'm sure many of you feel you are too. But we don't recreate something by breaking it. If we truly want to change things, we have to build it. We have to create. We have to make it what we want it to be. Nowadays, we have people that they want to see change. So they go and they block roads and they loot buildings and they burn structures down. And they think that that's going to bring about change. All that does is spread your anger to other people. Breaking someone else's things doesn't fix your things. Breaking someone else's life doesn't fix your life. So if we really want change, if we really want a revolution, then we need to start by building. We need to support each other, build each other up, create a community of support. And how do we do that? Because right now the world's against us in that. The media only wants you to see the bad going on. They want to stir up that anger, that desire to go out and smash something. They want you mad because that's such a understandable emotion. But what if we could share love? What if we could share support? What if we could have a revolution in our lives? Instead of trying to change the world, let's start by changing our world. But it doesn't come free. Everyone always says, I believe in God, but I can't do anything because he's got to do the first thing. I need this and this and this. God's got to do this for me first. God's got to show me he's real. Then I'll read my Bible more. Then I'll pray more. God's got to do miracles in my life, and then I'll start trusting in him more. I had a conversation with a new guy, a coworker at work. He just started maybe 6 months ago, and he's talking about how he wants more money. He needs a pay raise. He's worth more than they're paying. So he intentionally doesn't work as good as he could because they don't pay him that much. And I had to explain to him, you don't get a pay raise and then you produce more. They're not going to give you more money in hopes that it's going to inspire you to work harder. You work harder to show them what you're worth. Then they give you the pay raise. That kind of applies here. We're all waiting for God to make the first move. We're all waiting for God to do something amazing in our lives. And then I'll pray more. Then I'll read my Bible. Then I will go and preach God's love. Then I will witness to people. I'll share my testimony. Once God starts doing something for me, I'll do something for him. It sounds kind of stupid when I say it aloud, but for some reason it's how so many of us think. I'm going to tell you a quick story from the Bible. This is from Matthew chapter 4, verse 17. When Jesus began to preach, he said, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven has come near." I don't know if that's a threat, but I kind of saw that as one. But what caught my attention was what came next. See, after Jesus started to preach, once he started his mission, he started gathering his disciples. And first he found Peter and his brother Andrew. They were on the shore fishing. And he says, "Come, follow me, and I will send you out to fish for people." Some translations, "I will make you fishers of men." And what happened to those two? A revolution in their life. At once, they left their nets, they left their boats. They just walked away and they followed him. Down the shore, he found two more brothers, James and John. And they were fishing with their dad, casting out their nets, and Jesus called to them, "Come with me." And so they left their boat. They left their father. And they followed him. Now that is a complete and radical change in their lives. You ever wake up and say, "You know what? Today some guy is going to come and tell me to follow him. And I'm going to completely walk away from my life and serve this man." At no point in time do you wake up and think that. They woke up saying, "Hey, hopefully we can catch some fish today so we can make some money. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to do my job. And then I'm going to come home to my family." At no point did they expect God to spark a revolution in their lives. But they did. They had a sudden, radical, and complete change, giving it all up to serve and follow the Lord. You know, I would love to sit here and tell you that If you pray more, miracles will happen. If you read your Bible more, God will bless you. But I can't know the will of God. What I can say is that since I started praying more, since I started reading my Bible, since I started seeking God's presence in my life and trying to find ways to be available and communicate with Him, I don't know if He's blessed my life. I don't know if anything has changed. But inside, I feel blessed. When things are good, I feel blessed. When things are bad, I feel blessed. And when I can barely hang on, I know that the Lord loves me. And for that, I feel blessed. So it's time for a change in our lives. It is time for us to start a revolution. Because if you first change your heart, you first change your mind and the way you think, if you have a revolution in your life, it will spread. And you will find yourself changing the world around you. Because there is no limit to what God can do through you if you are willing to serve. So let's start a revolution. It is time for us to stop circling around the same old sins in our life. It is time for us to change. It is time to serve.
Three, two, one.
Now let me hear you say.